Good morning and welcome to Practicing Awareness or Awakening. They're the same. We've been talking this morning about using the wide-angle lens to see the whole field instead of using the zoom lens to focus in on just one object and one viewpoint. What is the first responder? Our culture honors the first responder. Yes, the first responder. But in seeking truth, the first responder is a reaction. So in order to see the truth and see the whole field, we have to pause the first responder, which is always trying to control the situation, establish certainty, establish your viewpoint as the correct viewpoint. That first responder is worshipped in our society. This doesn't mean that this is a metaphorical first responder, not the one who rushes to put out your house fire, but the first responder is the reactive mind is what we're looking at here, using the first responder as a metaphor to get a handle on it, you see. So the first responder is a reactive mind. And the American way is that when you react, you come in with overwhelming force, shock and awe. Of course, this is what ICE is using. There may be a street argument, and you come in with overwhelming force. We watch this in the police movies. The police use overwhelming force. Instead of knocking on the door like a British cop, they kick the door in and rush in, scaring the bejeebies out of everybody in the house. Lie on the floor, screaming, lie on the floor, lie on the floor, taking control of the situation. The question is, why do you have to control the situation? Why is control prior to understanding? Why is certainty more important than uncertainty and questioning? Why is reaction dominant over response? This is a good question. We should ask it in our personal life, in our everyday life, in the kitchen. Why do I respond to the wife or the husband with overwhelming anger? Think about that. An angry response takes control of the situation, dominates the situation. Anger response is shock and awe. So society uses it, and we use it personally in our everyday mind, everyday situations. That's where we find out what's the difference between reaction and response. In your household, in your everyday mind. The monk asked the master, "What is the way?" The monk asked the master, and the master said, "Your everyday mind is the way." So if you want to find the solution or the resolution or the peace that passes understanding, you have to look in your everyday mind. How do you react? How do you respond? There is a difference. Reaction is knee-jerk. Reaction comes from fear of losing control. Reaction is a response, comes from fear of uncertainty. And uncertainty is losing control. And what is behind the fear of losing control but death? What is death? Uncertainty. But even more than uncertainty, death is unknowable. So we avoid the uncertain, the unknowable by reacting with shock and awe. Shock and awe stabilizes the situation, but then we have to clean it up, you see. Shock and awe stabilizes the situation immediately, but it creates unintended consequences that have to be cleaned up. with more shock and awe. And if we look at America right now, that's what is ruling America. Reaction with overwhelming force to keep control and avoid death and avoid the fear of not knowing, of uncertainty. Ironically, science began with the search for understanding, but it became a search for certainty. Now certainty is primary, understanding is a side effect. First take control, then you can have some understanding. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, and we're seeing it demonstrated in America, on the streets of America. ICE comes to a neighborhood with overwhelming force. Machine guns draped in combat vehicles. Shock and awe. Shock and awe, you see. The streets of America have been turned into Iraq and Bush, and the shock and awe of Bush. Killings, getting rid of Saddam. So ICE is a reenactment of the Iraq War. If you want to look at it creatively, the Bush doctrine. When you come to a knife fight, use a machine gun. Use overwhelming force to control. So this need to control is running amok in America. We can't find understanding. We can't find the peace that passes understanding because our dominant concern, particularly on the right, is control. And what is control but the fear of losing control? And what is losing control? Death. Death, you see. Death is the ultimate loss of control. So behind all of our fear, all of our shock and awe, all of our reaction is the fear of death. But what is death, you see, but life? You can't separate death from life. Where there's life, there's death. Where there's death, there's life. They're interchangeable. They're different, but they can't be separated in reality. They can't be separated in existence. But what we do is try to separate them. We just want to have life, no death, says Trump. We just want to have winning, no losing, he says. We just want to be in control, no loss of control. We want the good. We don't want any bad. We want sunny days, no cloudy days. You see the absurdity of this? You see the insanity of this, you see? No wonder America's going crazy, because we see through this ruse. We see through this fear of death, which is a fear of life. The fear of death is a fear of life, because death and life cannot be separated. It's so clear. If we take off the lenses of American society now, which has really lost itself in the fear of adventure, the fear of life. It's ironic in that America was born with the fear, with the love of adventure and exploring the unknown. And now it has become fear of the unknown and the fear of exploration. Share my posts. They're unusual, not conventional, sometimes rambling, sometimes wobbling, and it's certainly unscripted. I don't write this stuff down. I just let it roll out as we meet here in practicing awareness. Thanks for dropping in.